Okay, hello, welcome everyone. Welcome to Module 5, and today we're going to be going over the grading and report card. Okay, so this is just to show you an example of what the DLI report card looks like, as well as the progress report. You're going to notice on the left-hand side, you'll see the subjects broken down by the overall grade, and then by the content area either in English or in Spanish. And so the report card will formulate both of those grades to populate into a reading overall grade. And the same thing will happen for writing, language, math, and so on. I just wanted to share with you the three main differences between the DLI report cards and traditional report cards. And really, the number one thing is just you're going to have an added standard code. You're going to have to make sure that you add to each assignment. So you're going to have the regular subject like reading, and then you're going to have either reading English or reading Spanish subject standard code. Another thing that's going to be different are the categories. The categories are going to be broken down depending on your grade level specific Spanish percentage and English percentages. We'll talk about that. And then also just making sure that you select DLI report card when it's time to start formulating the report card. So this right here, this slide is just to show you an example of the codes. Now, that one right there is to show you an example of the codes. Now, this is going to be grade levels specific here. These are just some of the samples. As depending on your grade level, the number might be a little bit different. But for example, if we are normally used to 9,000 being a certain standard code for reading, for example, you're going to notice that the DLI code is going to have an extra code under reading that's going to either say reading English or reading Spanish. Okay, so you can see here, reading English, reading Spanish, writing English, writing Spanish.
Tina, if you can just speak a little bit as far as the categories, and I know that's a little bit different, at least from my context, what I remember, we were able as teachers to change categories as we went throughout the year. So for example, if I had in my English grade, I wanted English, my reading grade, and I wanted 70% to be comprehension quizzes and 10% to be homework and whatever. I could change it throughout. Now, what my understanding is, especially for the Spanish one, once the category is done, it's done for the year. Is this correct? And then if you can explain to us why, and then the importance of us really getting together, maybe potentially this summer. And when I say us, I mean primarily you guys with your teams and really determining what you want, because my understanding is once you have it, it cannot be changed. Is this correct, Tina?
Actually, no. Originally, that's the way we thought that it was going to be, where it was going to be a hard category selection. But because teachers can change their categories, at any time, and we've done this before, kind of before the trimester ends, and you come to a grade level agreement of, oh no, we're going to have to change this category so that it's not going to affect the students as much or whatever. So you do still have the ability to change your own categories. The only thing that you all have to make sure to do is to have the balance of the English and the Spanish categories to equal a total of 100%. And so let's go into that so that they can get a better idea of the category breakdown. So it's 2 slides after this one, I think, is the link. Yes. And so you'll notice when you go into it, it'll be by the tabs on the bottom. So I think it's automatically going to take us to the kindergarten. But if we want to go ahead and go to 3rd grade so that Sochi can see 3rd grade's breakdown that Michelle and Marcos had. So you're going to notice right in the, well, I don't know if you probably can't see my mouse, but if you look between the two columns and you see a 30% right here, so that's 30% of how they broke down their English assignments. And then on the right-hand side, you're going to notice it says 70%. Right over here, it says 70%. And these on the right-hand side are how they broke up the assignments to equal the Spanish 70% of instructional time, and that will total 100% in the overall categories. So basically, ladies, these right here where it says reading comprehension, that's going to be a category. Fluency is going to be another category. And we'll go in, and so just to remind you where to do that in case you need to see that again. And so when with the percentages, you would put 7.5, and then for fluency, it would be 7.5. And so the balance of all of these reading grades here would equal the 30% for English. Does that make sense to you guys?
Yes, that makes total sense.
Yes, okay. Or let's go ahead and look at 4th grade and 5th grade, since we have the 4th grade team and then Crystal here, just to kind of see what the breakdown. Well, here, pretty simple, right? 50%, 50% is, so for 4th and 5th grade, it's going to be easier, right? It's just a matter of determining what are you going to put in these lines here, and what percentages are you going to put for your categories to equal that 50% total overall for English. And then the same thing on the Spanish side, what are you going to fill those boxes in? You know, now that especially 4th grade, you have a year in, and so you know kind of what you were.
I'm surprised that it's not on there.
Yeah, we had a breakdown. That's why I'm like, well, where'd it go? We have it broken down. But I wonder if we did a different document or something.
Oh, maybe.
I wonder.
Maybe.
Oops,
but
we did.
the document you sent us, obviously.
You know,
But it looked just like that. That's why I'm like,
Maybe if you guys can share with me that doc, and then
I'll find it right now and
I'll
send it to you.
I'll upload it to this one later. But and then so
and then sorry, just going back to the 3rd, I know it's very much done, but again, Xochitl, you may want to connect with Michelle and see if you guys want to reconsider this as well.
Yeah. Like she may be in the same boat that Bertha and Gisela are in right now, you know, after doing it for a year. Maybe they put some things here they didn't even really have a lot of grades for, and maybe didn't help the students at all. And they, you know, you just might want to revisit that for sure. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now. So what I'm going to do, ladies, I'm going to go into Sandbox. Sandbox is the Aries playground. So anything that I do here, and Gisela or Bertha, if you don't mind, can I go into your gradebook? Just
Yeah,
I'm going to go into try one, just to kind of give them an example. Okay, so I'm going to teacher emulation, so I can get into somebody's gradebook here. I go into Martinez. Okay, and I'm going to go into a past term. I'm going to just, let's look at try one. All right, so nothing is going to be different when you're setting up your gradebook as far as this is concerned. So you're definitely going to want to make sure that try one, try two, and try three are marked with your upcoming, you know, once we have the dates for the upcoming year's start date and end date, you'll want to make sure that's set. Under options, we definitely want to go to weight scores. And by the way, just reminder, we are recording this, so if you need to go back and review how to set this up, feel free. I will upload it as soon as possible. We do want to make sure that you apply assignment scores immediately. So those two boxes are going to be checked. And then looks like that's it. That's it under options that you'll have to make sure you have selected. Now, here's the biggie. Under categories, so now I'm in Gisela's, and so this was kind of, obviously they do have their categories, right? And this was their categories during first trimester. So whatever, let's say they do decide to change, they just need to make sure that together they do the change, right?
Mhm.
And so right now you have homework in English is 5%, homework Spanish 5%. Normally though, these wouldn't be here, right, Sochi and Crystal? So this is where you would add the title of your category, and then over here you'd put in whatever percentage number you would want. And then of course at the end it all has to total 100%. But you can see they basically under language, they're counting homework in both languages, spelling in both languages, and grammar in both languages. And so that's how they did their language gradebook, for example, okay? Any questions on that before we look at assignments? Yes, Bertha?
I do. So I just wanted to know, so how would we change it? So we would go here and then.
So you would go manage gradebook, and then
Okay.
you would go categories. And then you would just plug in, you might have to delete some because if you already
Okay.
have them preset, you know how it only will accept if it's 100%. So
Okay.
you might have to just kind of delete them and just start from scratch and just retitle and re-percentage them.
I was under the impression, and I could be totally wrong, maybe there was an email with an update or something, but I was under the impression that we were only allowed to, I mean, we have to make a grade book every year. Like every year we have to start with a new grade book for that year.
Yes.
Like I was under the impression that this grade was going to be archived, and then when we come back in fall, we're going to have to create a new one for the next school year.
Yes, you do. You do.
Okay.
Yeah. But if you wanted to change anything for your report card, you know, for right now, for try 3, because of, you know, you may not have enough English, or you may have not have enough Spanish, and you need to kind of tweak it just because of this situation that we're in. You just make sure you're both on the same page. But yes, you're right, Gisela. Every year you're going to have to create your own. A new grade book, and so feel free to go back to this recording so you can remember how to do it. And this is just language, okay? If we want to go ahead and look at math, for example, let's go into math and see the category breakdown here. Again, we're going to go to categories, and so this is what for 4th grade. Try 1's agreement for English Spanish breakdown. So you counted unit tests, quick checks, quizzes, and then the homework in both languages. So these are your totals here. So heavily weighted was more the test. And then the quizzes up next, and then the homework the least. So however you guys want to do, once you have the chance to kind of reconvene with your partner teacher and see, do you want to keep this the same? Do you want to make any changes to this? Especially, you know, 5th grade, you're going to have conversation around that, I'm sure. Any questions on that? You guys pretty good. I don't see Crystal and Sochi, you pretty good with that piece? Okay. All right, going on to assignments. Now here's where I can't go in and create an assignment, but you guys have already been there, done that. You know how to create an assignment. The only thing I want to caution you about is this is where it's going to look a little different. You're going to see here, you're going to not just put the regular subject code, okay, you know, the regular standard code. Now this right here, I can tell because it says English here, I can tell that this 9035 is, and if you hover over it, I don't know if you can see what it says when I hover over it, but this is the math English specific code. Now, you guys have this. This is not something everybody else has to do, right? This one right here is the standard that everyone would have to do for 4th grade math assignment. It's 9007. But you, in addition to that, so you're not done. That's just the only thing you're going to have to remember is that you're not done, and you're going to have to, before you save and close, do the other one too, of whatever language it's applying to. Is it an English assignment, or if it's a Spanish assignment? And so you'll see a code that'll say math English, and then you'll see a code that will say math Spanish. And you're just going to have to select the one that applies. So
Tina, is there
everything,
sorry, Tina, is there any way that you can pretend to add an assignment so they can see?
I could, if you guys want to, if you don't mind giving me your Aries username and
Yeah, I
password.
don't mind.
Okay, let me go ahead and log out here.
Once,
You know what?
once,
Gisela, might be easier if, because I think it's going to keep defaulting me to my own here. Do you want to share your screen and then you can show them? There?
sorry, I forgot my mic was off. Yes, go ahead. I'll do it. It's fine.
Okay.
So we add assignment. When you go to add assignment, the field she's talking about, because I don't want to, you know, just go to the main thing. So when you go to add an assignment, you go to your subjects. Let's say this is language arts, so always know what Gradebook you're in. So I'm going to click the language arts. It has no English or Spanish on there. It's just here's what the category, you know, the subject is. Then you want to go towards the bottom. ¿Vas a saludar? Then you go to the bottom and you should be looking for what, you know, the Gradebook language. So think about what assignment am I doing? Am I doing Spanish or am I doing English? So that's the one thing. Don't get your wires crossed. So if you're doing your Spanish, then click your Spanish. And if you're doing your English, do your English, but you don't do both English and Spanish. So choose the language and then say, okay. And that's it. You just have to remember that when you get to here, you always have two. And that's what my brain started telling me. You have two standards. Grab your, you know, your subject and grab your language.
And another thing to remember too, if you can go scroll up just a bit, out of the standard, out of the standard box, you see the drop down for category. That's another thing you'll need to remember, ladies, is to drop down. So after you manage your gradebook and you put your different categories and your percentages, you also want to make sure that it's going to give credit to the category you want to give it credit to. And so just make sure that you pick whichever one it is there. Okay.
Yep. Something that I don't know, I'll cancel this. Something that I've been doing too, and I've been telling Bertha, like all this year, like, okay, I open them up, like let's see, I'm checking all my spelling, and I make sure I put them side by side and double check. Okay, the category is correct, you know, the standards there. It's just a quick check, like, okay, so because I don't want, especially when it's like, okay, I know progress reports are coming or a report card, so double check that everything's being counted, and this eliminates a lot of troubleshooting later, like, oh, where's the mistake? You know, so I just become used to, like, when I enter it as I go, instead of like having like 20 different things to look at to do that. So that's really neat little feature, you know, that you can pull those out and then kind of make sure everybody's on the right track.
Yes, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
For sharing that. I don't have access to that piece, but that was perfect. So,
all right.
Really, ladies, other than that, that was really all in regards to grading and report cards. So you just, you know, action steps. Just take a look at that sheet, the Google sheet that has all the different, you know, your breakdown. And especially if you haven't had a chance to do your breakdown, just you know, meeting with your partner teacher and deciding on your final categories for the upcoming school year. And whenever it opens to where you can start creating your grade books, you'll be ready to go.
So do they need to, Tina, do they need to notify anyone, or this is just amongst them two and then they just create it and they don't need to let anyone know?
As long as it's in that Google sheet, so that we are all on the same page and we know. And again, that Google sheet is what we're going to be using, you know, for now and forever. So if there are any changes, just make sure that the changes are on there. And then the only other thing that I could think of that may give you some issues to where maybe Sochi and Crystal don't see those standards, the English standards and the Spanish standards. If you don't see those, more than likely it's because you're not quite tagged yet as a DLI teacher. And so that probably won't be able to happen until this year is over. And then, you know, processed and everything. And then as soon as all of the new contracts start up again, we can make sure that you ladies get tagged specifically as DLI teachers, because that was an issue that happened before. Some of them teachers were not seeing, oh, I don't have the English and the Spanish breakdown standard codes, and it turned out because they needed to be tagged in a different area as well. So if you have any questions when that time comes and you don't see those, just let us know, and then we can check with IT as to.
That's what I wanted to. That's what and more for me. So I was under the impression that things couldn't change once the bus started moving, and so thank goodness that we can. And you have full autonomy, but I just wanted us to remember that this is something that we started last year, and so it's very new, very new to us, to IT. Very novel idea, really, because a lot of districts, I'll tell you, they are still doing paper and pencil. So this was a huge, huge undertaking on everybody's behalf, to make it digital, to make it very similar, to make it talk to each other. But I think we have a really bomb.com system right now going. But I also wanted to ask Tina, because you're the expert here on this, how much change can we continue to do? I just want to have an open platform for our teams. If they see like, hey, can we like just improving the system, if it needs improvement, just anything that we can give them so that they don't think this is it, you know, like this is a done, final, we've arrived. I don't think we've arrived with this system, and if we can perfect it, we will. But how much of that, Tina, do we have?
I think the teachers have full. Jim Ernst, when DLI report cards were created, my initial concern was, oh my gosh, like what you're saying right now, Adriana, and your concern is once you set what your categories are, you're not going to be able to change them. Like that's going to be just like a default, and it will be forever and always. But Jim Ernst did assure me that if the teachers want to change categories, can you hear me okay? Okay, if you want to change categories, that's total autonomy to do that. The only thing is to make sure your balanced percentages are working out, whether they label them something else or you have a different assignment other than what's already there, but you should be fine to make any other than those types of changes. Like if there's an addition to the report card that you wished that you had, or the parents feel there's some information missing and you think it would make it more clear, just definitely your feedback from hearing from parents, let us know, so that, because our IT department is also bomb.com, and so the fact that they were able to do this is and as fast as they were able to do it is a miracle. So I'm sure they're able to make miracles happen. It's just that they don't know unless we tell them if there's some improvement that we would like for them to make. So nothing is set in stone. If we want to improve it, I'm sure we can. It's just a matter of getting together and seeing how much the need is, and then taking it to them to see what the possibilities are. The worst they can say is no, but already, thank goodness, we have a DLI report card. And that was huge because the parents, oh my, I can't even tell you how hard it was for not only the parents, but the teachers too, to explain how, their grade is not all Spanish and there's some English in there too. And so to be able to see that, the parents know more what area they need to help them out with. So that was a long response. I don't know if I answered your question. Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that they knew that we're all growing together and we're improving together. And so this is not a final product. If you have feedback or any other ideas, we can always go up from here, right?
That's
but
right.
I think it's a great starting point.
I did want to mention, especially for Xochitl and Crystal, just to be aware to make sure that, especially with what we're going through right now, because Bertha had waited a long time to get access to a lot of DLI stuff. Like, just try to, I know Bertha, I should be actually maybe sharing this, but who you need to contact, because you just need to get on it and be on it, which I'm sure you guys will. Just make sure you start reaching out now and letting them know before they shut down and everything's like, what, where, who's going where?
Yeah.
Because it took Perez a long time to get all her curriculum in, and like, oh, I don't have that yet, so we want to make sure we stayed true to two DLI classes doing the same thing. So We moved
Right.
some things around to accommodate to that changing, especially she went from a different site, and both of you are coming from a different site. So make sure
Yeah.
that you get all that.
And I'm glad you mentioned that, Gisela. I just wanted to make it clear, who do you talk to, and just make sure that you follow the proper protocols. Of course, you're going to want to, before anything, you're going to want to reach out to Denny, Michelle. Hey, I need this. Okay, I don't know if I have this. Can you check for me so that I'm ready to go when we can get back to school or whatever? So check with them. And through them, I'm sure they can reach out to the librarian. And then if they can't figure it out there at the site, at least they're aware that somebody's searching for, you know, for resources for one of you. And then, so then when it goes to the next step and it goes to us or it goes to Corey, at least we know that Denny and Michelle and the school librarian already know. And it's just, we need to figure out how else to support you to get the materials as fast as we can.
Yeah, and I feel like it took like a whole team. Honestly, I don't even know what was going on with my maravillas, but it was, well, we had a little transition with our IC coach in the beginning of the year. And then, so I was in touch with Corey. And they were all super, super helpful. Corey, our librarian, Miss Hudson. I got personal calls from like McWhorter and everybody that, you know, they were trying. And it was like, I would get one component to work and then the other one wouldn't. And it was just, you know, but you know, I had the hard copies of everything, so I just relied on that, you know. But you know, having that online component really would have made my life a lot easier. But just little things that come up. But yeah, just know that, I mean, even getting those phone calls, it was amazing. Like, hey, what do you need? How can I help? So we have
what I'm gonna go ahead, Tina.
I was just gonna say, even just right now, it's just check, you know, like check with Denny, Michelle, and the librarian, send them, all three of them, maybe an email and say, hey, I just want to make sure that I'm going to have all of the resources that I need, because if you, even if it's an online thing, maybe they can put in a ticket for you too, you know, so that they can get that ball rolling. I know, like, I don't know if we have access to the building blocks yet. I think I have access to everything but the building blocks. So if you don't have the building blocks, that's because it's, you know, it's the newer science. But
what I wanted to recommend to guys is, I think it might just be, especially if you're in a situation like Bertha where you just are not getting anywhere, right? And it's pretty much just knowing, like I see a question here is, who in IT would I contact? I think I really would like to highly recommend to you ladies and to the whole entire DLI team to send the email to the DLI support team. Anytime it is something specific with DLI, send it through the DLI support team, because Denny's there, Michelle is there, and then all of us are there. And as Tina was just mentioning, if it's something that has to do with, hey, I need curriculum, we're gonna let it go. That we know that that's not going to be us. That's going to be Michelle. She's going to be doing, like, we're going to follow chain of command. Michelle's going to be the best person to go contact your librarian. And so it's always going to start at the site. But if you include the DLI support team, at least we're in the know, because I'll tell you with Bertha, I don't know if I've mentioned to you last time we were there, but with Bertha, I think we heard about her struggles until December. You know, that was the first time I personally heard of it. And so I know that would have been a matter of a text, you know, for us to be like, hey, what's going on? What can we do? And then Tina, she's so proactive and so helpful with things. She would have probably called the whole entire Wonders headquarters, you know, to get her what she needed. You know, a lot of the times it's the fact that if we think about Corey, for example, she's managing every single adoption in the universe, and she's managing so many programs, right? And so leave it to us to really go out there and advocate for you guys and for the things that we need for DLI. And as Gisela was saying, it is very, very true. We want to stay as close as possible to the program, but if you guys don't have the resources, we cannot have a face to ask you to do that, right? And so we want to get you the resources, but we also need to know what it is that you need. And so when we're talking about IT and curriculum materials, funding, all of that. The best place to start is DLI support team. Don't be intimidated by it. Just send it out. And the right person, I'm not always going to respond. Tina's not always going to respond. Carla's not always going to respond. A lot of the things that you guys are going to be questioning are going to be at the site level, unless it's funding, for example. We'll get to that in one of the next few modules. Then when it's funding, it's always going to be Tina. Tina's the one that manages your budgets. And if it's something that has to do with, let's say, assessment, it's most likely going to be Tina, but sometimes it's going to be Michelle, you know. So just if it all fails, just DLI support team. One of us is going to get to the answer in the supports.
And I was gonna ask, so that's basically already in, like, if when you write an email, that's one of the, you can look it up as DLI and support team, it's already made, right? Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yes, and it's a very intimate group, guys. It's just Denny, Michelle, Carla, myself, Tina, all of us, friends. And then Daniel he's there because he's part of our EL team. For the most part, it's just our EL team and your site team. So it's a small group. Don't be intimidated by it.
Mm-hmm. All right. Any other questions, ladies? Okay, so we'll close it out. And again, as I mentioned, this is being recorded. So as soon as I have a chance to upload it, I'm going to tag it to that DLI module list doc. I don't know if you've noticed, but I have been putting all the previous modules as well. And just a reminder, our next module is on budgeting and systems. Hopefully we'll see you at module 6. So thanks again for your time. Have a beautiful 3-day weekend. Take care. Bye-bye.